So, all right, you guys, welcome to our Body Electric weekly webinar. I'm excited to talk to you guys tonight a little bit about crafting effective Facebook content. This is something that I feel like is an area of strength for me, especially with Facebook. I'm not so much an Instagram girl or any other platform girl. I've built, I would call 90 to 95% of my business on Facebook alone. So this is sort of an area of strength for me, and I wanted to make sure that I could share it with you guys as well. So we are recording this, so thank you guys for those of you who are on here live. If you're not on here live, that's cool too. That's why we record, so that you guys can have access to this later. If you want to go back and take notes, listen to it again, that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen because I have a PowerPoint that is just going to make things a lot easier.
Are you okay?
Uh-oh. Okay. So let's see here. If you haven't already, make sure that you're muted, just so that everybody can hear everything okay. So, all right. So what I want to talk tonight specifically is all about the power of the post, the power of your Facebook content, the importance of what it is you're saying and how often you say it on Facebook. This is something that I have covered multiple times. I've done it for our team. I've done it for my uplines team. I have done it for other teams in the network. And so today when I sat down to kind of revamp the content for it, I actually realized that a lot of it is still relevant. I did make some changes to this and some additions to this, but I even included some examples that I've included in this presentation before from 4 or 5 years ago. So really the gist is that Facebook, even though it's always changing as far as algorithm, really the core principles of how you're using Facebook for your business really haven't changed much. So there's a lot of repeat content that I actually thought a lot of you veterans might like to see again, because it might remind you of sort of things that you've done in the past that are working. So I'm going to show some examples as well. So the first things I want to do though is I want to go through some announcements. And like I just said, I was planning on live streaming this in the team page, and then I thought, no, you know what? Everybody needs to listen to the team call. This is a great topic for everybody on the team to hear. So we're just going to cover this content here tonight. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is a new concept that we're introducing for the team called the Body Electric Virtual Gym. The group itself has been created. This is a screenshot of just the cover photo. But basically we are opening, like we're creating this Facebook group. It'll be a social learning group, just like we've done before with some of our other challenge groups. And this will live on eternally. So this will be like, you know, the full year, 2019. This will be a Body Electric Virtual Gym. All Body Electric coaches and all Body Electric challengers are welcome to get involved and participate in the virtual gym. Basically, it's like what I would call our existing, you know, when we've done like the 80-day obsession challenge group or the Lift 4 team-led challenge group, it's basically that concept, but instead of facilitating specific programs only, you know, for 30 days or 60 days or 21 days, this will be sort of just like they're gaining access to a virtual gym. There will be trainer tips, trainer technique videos. There will be nutrition content, meal prepping tips, meal plans, weekly meal plans, grocery lists, all those types of things that we provided in our team-led specific challenge groups for programs. Will just not be program specific. So it will be a virtual gym, virtual group where all of our coaches will participate in leading and offering value. So I hope it'll be a great addition for your customers. Hopefully when you get people on board with this, when you get people on board with a challenge group or a particular program, let's say they hop into Transform 20, my recommendation is obviously for you as the coach, the person that they're following, to lead a Transform 20 group yourself for your challengers, or partner with another coach on the team to lead one, the 2 of you or 3 of you. And then to put people as well into this Body Electric Virtual Gym and let them know this is sort of the mama group for all the material you're going to need. This is where your suggested meal plans are going to live. This is where your form and technique tips are going to live. So it just acts as another resource for your challengers to have access to. Does that make sense? So the cool thing about this is we've already created it, and the goal here is to open this up to the team to participate in for the month of December. So you'll see a link to the virtual gym in the month of December. My goal is to actually go ahead and start adding a lot of content to this group in the month of December. So any tips or suggestions that you have as a coach or things that you've learned, feel free to share it here in the virtual gym so that it can live there. My assistant will take care of organizing everything into units. And then effective January 1st, you're welcome to add your challengers to the group as well. So for the month of December, it will be coaches only, Body Electric coaches only. We're going to fill the group with content, kind of get a feel for how things are going to run. And then we will open that up January 1st for our challengers. So that's a pretty cool thing that we're doing. So that's number one. Hang on, let me move my little cursor here. Okay, number two, and I put a screenshot here just to prove that it is almost done, is the 2B Mindset automation. So this is cool. This is something that we've been thinking about, I think, since probably August, September. When the 2B Mindset released in the spring, we had a really successful initial team-led challenge group for 2B Mindset. And I think it worked well because the program had just launched. We had a lot of people in it because all of our coaches were selling at least one challenge pack for 2B Mindset. And so it was a good group, it had good energy. There was enough people in it to make it work, and it was a successful group. From that point forward, it became a little bit of a struggle because it became sort of similar to like the 21-day ultimate reset or even the 3-day refresh, where this is sort of a self-guided program. It's based on the individual, and it tends to be connected a little bit to obviously some emotional eating feelings that are conjured up and that sort of thing. So the fitnessy challenge groups that we're so good at running weren't really working well for the 2B Mindset customer. So initially, in the initial launch, it did, and then it sort of was like, what are we doing? How do we help people? We don't know. So this has been sort of in the back of my mind for a while, and I feel like this is something that I will eventually roll out for other things as well. My hope is to also eventually next year, do a 21-day ultimate reset automation as well, so that if we have a client going through that, that will be something that they can have access to. But basically, for those of you who are unaware of how these types of things might work, this is an email automation system. So when you have a customer who purchases the 2B Mindset Challenge Pack, since that does tend to be like 1 or 2 people here or there, it's going to be perfect because you'll be able to add their email address into this workflow, into this automation series, and it's going to be automatically set up for you. So it's going to automatically prompt to send them emails. Right now it's looking like 21 to 25 days worth of content. And so it will actually be like a coach facilitated challenge group, but the content will be going directly to your customer in their email inbox. So they'll wake up in the morning, they'll get an email from you at 8 a.m. It'll say, for example, I think I put an example in here. This is what the email looks like. So it'll have the Body Electric logo. It'll say what you need for the 2B Mindset, right? And it's very similar content to what we provided from the challenge group guide in our 2B Mindset challenge group. Same exact content. I've tweaked it a little bit to be more specific to email automation instead of a group. And then it's signed, your Body Electric coach, or let's crush this, your Body Electric coach. So it's a really cool thing that the whole team can have access to, and it's a way to facilitate 2B Mindset for your customers to keep them on track. So every few days, the email itself will say something like, by now you should be through video number 5, or let's talk about video number 6. So it's a great way to sort of keep people on track with 2B Mindset and touching base with them. So this is something that has a lot more detail to it, right? So you're going to have to, you guys as coaches are going to need to know, how do I add a customer to this workflow? What do I do if a customer responds to an email? Like those types of things. So my plan is to actually send out an email to the team. So this is a separate thing, separate email, but you guys get emails from me already with sort of the newsletter of the month. So it'll be very similar to that, and I'll be sending you specific instructions for how you will plug your 2B Mindset customers into our automation system, okay? So that all sounds very technical and formal. It's really not that hard, but I'm gonna send it out in an email so that it doesn't get lost as a Facebook post, so that I don't have to live stream about it. Like, it's just gonna be a lot easier to send you instructions through email. So I hope to have that email in your inbox by the end of this week. So I have maybe like 7 more days worth of content to write up for the automation. And then once that's done, it's ready to go. So just getting your people in it will be the next step. So that's awesome too. And I think that'll be really great, especially heading into January, because obviously I think 2B Mindset will appeal. It really has appealed a lot, even with our most recent flash sale. And then in January, I think it'll be a big hit as well, just with time of year. So in addition to that, last but not least, the plan is to take our new Coach Basics training, our Coach Basics format that those of you who were around this summer, we did like a Facebook group called like Coach Basics Academy. And we put everything into social learning groups and units there. That will be turned into automation as well. So I'm working on that too. So I think that it's just going to be easier, because you guys know we've tried leading groups for Coach Basics, but it really sucks when you have somebody come on board, and you're like, oh, I have a Coach Basics starting in 2 weeks. It's like, well, they're excited now. So they need to be getting the content now. They need to be facilitated now. They need to sell their first challenge pack now. So the automation will work very similar. As soon as you sign a new coach, you'll welcome to the team page. You'll let them know what's coming. You'll send them their getting started email, and then you're going to pop them into the new Coach Basics automation so that they'll automatically get that too. So just trying to make things a lot easier for you guys, and very streamlined and organized, so that we're making sure all new coaches that join the team are being covered, that they're all having access to the same tools. And then the same thing goes for like the 2B Mindset stuff. And then last but not least, I've had some questions this week on the Shaun T group happening in December. It will start December 3rd, the goal being that it will take people up until Christmas Eve. So that's perfect timing, right? Nice 3-week group for the month of December. And I've been waiting to share it with the team. We just got it yesterday or today, which is Shaun T himself created a hybrid calendar. So a hybrid workout calendar utilizing T25, Max 30, Asylum. He's put it all together. So it's sort of a preparation calendar for Transform 20. So that will be the workout calendar that group follows. And that will be separate from, it'll kind of be our last 2018 team-led program-specific group. So it will be separate from the virtual gym. Virtual gym is in trial mode in the month of December, getting coaches in there. We release it out to customers in January. We're doing our last team-led group with the Shaun T 21 Days of Fitness starting on December 3rd. So I shared the recording in the team page tonight from a recent call that Shaun T did about the program with our upline team. So if you have a chance to check that out, it's only like 30 minutes. It's a super good use of time. Does anybody have any questions about any of those things? Yeah.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
One, for the 21 Days of Fitness, I was looking at that calendar. Do they need to have already ordered Transform 20 in order to do it?
For the 21 Days of Fitness, no, they do not have to order that group to be in it. They just have to have a BOD challenge pack to be in it. They have to have purchased a BOD challenge pack or have BOD and be active on something in order to have access to that group.
The calendar looked like it had some Transform 20 workouts on it.
Yes. There are preview workouts that are coming out. That's what's included on the calendar.
Cool.
Yeah. So if they have BOD, they will have access to those preview workouts.
Okay. And then you said you're going to send instructions through email on how to get people set up with the automation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to have specific instructions for you as the coach to know how to add people to this automation. Yes.
Okay.
Jenny, are you 100%? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Laura, real quick.
I was going to add to that question, though, Katie, really quick. Jenny, are you 100% sure on that? Because with Lift 4, we did not have access to the pre-workouts unless you purchased the
right. Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm not 100% sure, but I know based on what I've heard through the roundtable that he is doing like social media free workout, like previews and all sorts.
Okay.
So I feel like we're probably covered in the area of getting people access before. I'm pretty sure I heard it was like before the paywall, like it was a free preview. I can double check to make sure that same workout that's on his calendar is the same one we're getting. But I know that the intention of this calendar he created was for people to run a December preparation group, and yet the challenge packs don't release till December 4th. So I have to assume that there's going to be something for us to put out there for our customers. Yeah. And Katie, was that those were 2 questions. Did you have a third one?
It was, if we are not getting your coach emails, do we just send you our email address so we can be added to your list?
Yes, you should be getting if you're not getting the ones that come out, like the monthly newsletter for the team, yeah, send me an email and then I'll send it on so that you can get added to the,
Okay.
Yeah, get added to it. So yeah, that's a good point. If anybody is for some reason not getting our weekly, it's not weekly. If you're not getting my monthly newsletter for the Body Electric team, please send me an email so that I can get you added. My email is just jennyswisher@gmail.com. My assistant takes care of making sure that all coaches are added to that list. But if for some reason you've gotten lost in the mix or you opted out at some point, we can get you added back in. Okay, any other questions for any of that? No? I love you guys. I hope someday when you guys are leading a webinar, I love seeing your faces. Like some of you are so excited and some of you are like this. It's awesome to see. I'm just making fun of you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Facebook content and what's most important with it. I know that we have a range of people who've been in this business for years, people who are brand new. So I want to make sure that I offered value for all of you. So I do have some examples to share. I do have some things I want to sort of dive into deeper, but we'll start with this. So my top tips for you for anything having to do with social media really is number one, you have to focus on the emotional connection. So you'll see at the end of this presentation that I have the question shared of, at the end of the day, when you're making that post, before you click the post button, can you affirm that you are in some way emotionally connecting with your potential client, with your potential customer, right? So that's number one. Number two, we must offer value. And number three, we have to be consistent. So you guys have heard that before, right? Like consistency is what wins over time, like making those consistent posts, being that consistent brand. But really the consistency doesn't matter if you're consistently not emotionally connecting. So emotionally connecting with your potential customer is number one. So let's dive in. So real quick, I always like to offer this disclaimer, but it's totally true. So if you're a relatively new coach, in the beginning, you're probably going to be hearing a lot more crickets than you are having people like flock to you wanting more information. There is that random new coach that's like, oh my gosh, I have like 40 people interested right off the bat. But usually, aside from that initial warm market, crickets are what is happening in the beginning of your business. Over time, you start to build what I like to call faithful fans. So you start to get people who like a lot of your posts. They are super supportive. I had an old neighbor that literally would like all of my posts, and he was always the first one to like all of my posts having to do with health and fitness. So over time, you go from the crickets to the faithful fans. Eventually, you trade your sort of negative Nellies in for more of those faithful fans. And over the course of, I don't know, maybe it's 6 months for you, maybe it's 6 years for you, but over the course of time, you'll start to see where people actually look forward to your content having to do with health and fitness. I can speak that truth myself. When Ellery was born, two things happened. One, I started posting more about my baby than I was about my business, and people started to ask, like, oh no, I hope the recipes aren't going away. Like, I love seeing your cute baby, but I haven't seen you share any of that in a while, right? I just got a message a few weeks ago from this guy that used to be my physical therapist. And he's like, I love that soup recipe you shared the other day. Can you please share more of those? Ellery's cute, by the way. Which the way I took that was, I love seeing your kid and everything, but please get back to helping us with health and fitness, right? So it transitions over the course of time is what I'm trying to get at. I even have people still who are like, I posted a picture of the three of us the other day and they were like, where's Rudy? So Rudy my dog has become such a part of my brand and who I am, that people look for him too. So over the course of people following you, you'll go from sort of through these phases of your business where you go from crickets to just having these faithful fans to eventually people looking to you as a resource in health and fitness. So that's sort of my disclaimer, is if you're new to this, hang with it, stay consistent. So number one, when you're crafting a Facebook post, these are the things I want you to consider. Number one, you have to know who you're talking to, right? Like, what does their life look like? And how is that content that you're about to post going to help their life? How is it going to add value to them? Is it a good time to post, right? These days, it's not as important to worry about it because people are online all the time, more so than ever. But I tend to find that if I'm going to post an invitation to a challenge group or to the business, that evenings, especially like Sunday and Monday evenings, tend to be the best time that I get traction on those types of posts. If I post after 10 p.m. Eastern time, I don't tend to get a lot of views or likes or comments until the next morning. I think a lot of people see them the next morning. But if I post before 8 p.m., it's kind of the same thing. I don't get a lot of views on those either. So for me, the window of awesomeness is from 8 to 10 p.m. for me in the evenings. And then, of course, what is the ultimate message that you want to deliver? If you are sitting down to craft social media content and you don't really know what the end goal is, if you're like, I just need to make a post, right? Most likely, your post could come across as just like randomly not helpful or uninformative or just what you're doing in any given moment. I used to make the joke that you guys, when I was in college, AOL Instant Messenger and MSN Messenger was like the thing, right? And so when I would go to class, like the thing to do with my generation, like I would go to class and the thing you would see is everybody would put up an away message. You guys remember the away message? And the away message was like, at class, then I'm talking to my babe, then I'm having pizza with Julia or whatever. And that was it. Like you were just telling people like what you were doing, right? And I see too many people, too many coaches who treat their Facebook content like their away message, right? Like, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm getting in lunch with so-and-so, and then I'm going to the mall. What do you guys think, right? And like nobody necessarily cares like what you're doing in any given moment, but they might if you can relate that post to how it might connect with them or how it might relate to them, right? So hopefully you can conceptualize that a little bit. So here's an example. So let's say that we wanted to invite somebody or invite people to an upcoming challenge group. Again, we're asking, who am I talking to? Are they even online right now? And what is the ultimate message that I want them to receive? Is this a call to action? Am I asking them to reach out to me? Am I looking for, am I filling my list? Am I really looking to, secure Success Club? Is that my goal with this post? Or is my goal just to plant seeds? Is my goal to mention that Transform 20 is coming out? Is my goal to, share a little bit about my lifestyle and my own consistency? So you have to know what your ultimate message is for each and every Facebook post, so that you know that you're, on track with that goal, so that you're not just winging it and putting something up just to put something up. So here's an example of what I see people do that I don't like, that doesn't work. I've even been seeing it happen with the Transform 20 thing recently, where coaches are saying, hey, there's this new program coming out. This is who it's intended for. Message me if you're interested in doing it, right? I've even seen a couple times this week, people post asking about like, have you ever done a Shaun T workout? Which is a great question to ask, because then you're going to get people who comment with, yeah, I tried Insanity and I puked, or I tried Insanity and I passed out, or whatever. And what I'm seeing though is that the purpose of that, asking that question on your social media, is to get people who have done Shaun T programs before, which I'm guessing are going to make up most of who are interested in Transform 20. It's going to make them comment, which makes you aware of the people who have tried Shaun T programs before, right? So it's a great idea of something to post. But here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to, like when someone says, yeah, I did Max 30 or whatever, the worst thing you can do is to comment back and say, oh my gosh, she has a new one coming out and this one's only 20 minutes. Want me to send you info? Right? Because then you just totally botched the whole thing. Then like if I'm a potential customer and I see your question, I'm not going to answer, because I'm going to see, oh, she's just looking to sell me his next thing. Right? So if the goal, if the end goal is to say, I want to find out who out there has tried a Shaun T program, then you post that, you comment back, oh my gosh, wasn't it so hard? Oh my gosh, right? Like you do the whole back and forth thing where you're building the relationship, and then you take it to private messenger and you ask the person like, are you still doing the Shaun T program? What do you do now for fitness? Oh, you're struggling? Oh, right. You're training for a 5K. Do you incorporate cross training? Oh, well, then you introduce it, right? Once you know their problem and you know that they're a Shaun T lover, then you introduce that Transform 20 might be a great fit for their problem. But to just initially ask them, like, have you done Shaun T before? By the way, he's got a new one out, right? It comes across very like, this is why I asked you. Does that make sense? So sort of staying, I guess, creative with it is key. So here's a sample post of what could work. This is something that I've done before. I have some examples of, I think I put an example in here, my most recent, but so this is something that I posted before, and I've actually repurposed it with different images and all kinds of things. But basically, kind of getting down to the details, trying to get down to where I can connect with people, right? So starting it off with a sentence that's going to make people stop their scroll, right? So something like, it's so easy to be scared. The first time we did P90X, we put on our new shoes, got our new exercise mats, filled our water bottles, and pressed play. And for the next 60 minutes, we watched. We didn't do a single move of the warm-up. After the warm-up, we found ourselves looking defeated before we started. Trust me when I say, I know where you are. Lucky for me, I now have a tool in my toolbox that can work. You'll enjoy doing it. You'll start your fitness journey, and it will give you amazing results. And then I go on to say, this is what the program's called. I'm privately coaching a group of individuals who'll be doing it. I've always got your back. Message me to chat. So in this particular example, what I'm doing is, number one, I hope you can see that I have spaced it out so that it's beautifully readable. Everything is not crammed into like one paragraph with no spaces. So this makes it very readable for people. I've got that initial sentence that I'm hoping is going to stop their scroll. And I'm telling a little bit of a story. Like, hey, let me tell you about the first time I ever did a program and how bad it sucked, right? Like, I know exactly where you are and how you feel. So, and then you're going from there and you're transitioning into like, I have something that can help you. And I know in the past for me that support is what made the difference. If this sounds like it's resonating with you, please reach out to me. So it's a very genuine invitation. You're sharing a little bit of a story. You're connecting. You are making that emotional connection to get somebody to reach out. That's just an example of something I like to do. So don't be afraid to get vulnerable. This is something that when I was thinking today, like what would be the number one thing that I could get my coaches to come away with? And my number one piece of advice for you for this entire thing is, if you take nothing else, is this. Just focus on getting your followers, the people who follow you on social, to fall in love with you, right? Like if you treat the people who follow you on Facebook like you're, like the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams, right? And you're trying to get them to fall in love with you, what types of things would you share, right? And the reason I say this, I put an example, is because this is why I think I've been able to successfully build my business 95% with my warm market on Facebook, right? So this is a post that I shared recently, and it's a picture of my daughter. It wasn't an easy post. It made me cry when I was writing it. It stirred up all kinds of emotions. This was our one and only good photo from a 3-hour photo shoot. And I shared a little bit. I didn't have to go into the nitty-gritty details, right? Like I have an entire birth story for Ellery's adoption. I have my own birth story for adoption. I've never shared either one. I don't know if I ever will. For me right now, those things are private, and I don't know if I want to share them. But there are little things that I can share. And those little things that I can share make people love me, right? And that is the goal. You want people to fall in love with you. This post has zero to do with my workouts. It has zero to do with my nutrition. It has zero to do with what I do as a coach. It has everything to do with how I have built my family, how I love my family, how I'm a mom, how I'm an adoption mom, and I was adopted, right? Like, so I'm treating this as an opportunity to really let people in, to get a little bit vulnerable and show them a piece of my life in order to sort of accentuate the trust bridge that's happening between us, right? And I know some of you guys are nodding and you're smiling because you know that there have been things that you might have been sharing or recently sharing on your social, and people just are like, oh my gosh, like all of a sudden you're like, I feel so loved, right? Like I was so nervous to share this about myself, or I was so nervous to write this story and share it with my Facebook followers. But all of a sudden I have such community outreach, and I have so many people messaging me and thanking me or telling me how much they love me and they're supporting me. And so what you'll find is that by doing this, by focusing on letting people fall in love with you, that trust bridge is built stronger. And when the trust bridge is built stronger, the platform that you have for health and fitness and for being a resource for that is sort of automatic, right? What's funny is I owned a gym for 5 years and I never once had anybody ask me for my credentials. No one ever asked me to see my certified personal trainer certificate. Nobody ever asked me to see my nutrition license. Like no one ever asked, right? No one's ever going to ask you if you have like degrees or masters or PhDs in nutrition or in helping people, but they are going to base their decision to work with you on whether or not they trust you. And the trust is built through sharing these types of stories, through sharing these types of vulnerabilities. So here's some examples that I had shared, let's see, 2014, I think this is 2014, I think it was in 2014, 2015. This is a post that Katie made that I love, that I still love, and it sometimes pops up on my memories that I shared it way back in the day. But this is just a funny post to me because it was like, I mean, you can't look at that and not laugh, right? Like, so she's sort of like making a funny over the fact that like, here's Autumn Calabrese, here's me mocking her. And like, it doesn't even really matter what the text says because I'm already interested. So I see this and I have to stop and read it, right? So the picture grabs my attention. She's got the awesome spacing. So she's got I really want to read it. She's got some words are not italicized. Some words are capitalized so that I want to read it. And she talks about how like, she doesn't want to look like her. She's not doing this to look like her. And she's not wanting to help you to look like her. And so she automatically has my attention. And she goes straight into like, this is not who I'm trying to be, but this is who I'm trying to be. And to me, it shows a little bit of vulnerability. It shows a little bit of what she's after. And I think I really do think that it emotionally connects. This is another one. This is before and after that Tara had shared a few years ago. And it was, again, all about what I see when I see this is, I mean, she's not standing there in a sports bra, like turned to the side. It's not like a typical before and after photo. This is a perfect example of seeing someone gain confidence, right? You can see her story without even reading the text. You can see a physical transformation in addition to sort of the mental confidence and clarity that has come from her journey. And so I love that she kept it short and sweet. I love that she says, before, I thought moms were supposed to be tired. After, moms deserve to make time to take care of themselves. I'm committed to this next program. Do you want to join me? Right? So super short and sweet, super conversational. She didn't overthink it. There's no overthinking involved. It's just super simple and super effective. It connects. This is one that Shauna shared of just a piece of homework that her kid had completed. And he put Shakeology, it's even spelled it correctly on his homework assignment. So again, emotionally connecting. How many parents out there have not like laughed at something that their kid has written on a piece of homework, right? So this is automatically grabbing the attention of people who've been in those positions. Here's another one from Katie where she's carrying Noah. Gosh, look how small he looks, Noah, or Katie. So small, and now he's so big. But she's talking about how, she has to be strong as a single mom, like carrying her kid up the stairs or whatever the case is. And that's why she does what she does, right? It's making it an emotional connection to her followers. This is one that I did, an example of it. Again, good spacing, makes it short and sweet, easy for people to read. A little bit harsh, but that's a little bit of my brand too. So just telling people, oh, you're tired, so am I. You're busy, so am I. You're short on time, so am I. Nobody cares except your future self. Press play, rock on, just do it. So again, you could say, gosh, that's a little harsh, but that's my personality. That's the way I would talk if it was my client. That's who I'm trying to attract. So I'm trying to attract somebody who needs that push. And if I remember correctly, because I've shared this presentation before, pieces of it, this particular post got a lot of outreach. Typically, the more me that I am, the more forward that I am, and more, I guess that what I think Shalene calls it you times two. The more you are, the more likely people are to reach out. And I have found that when I make these types of invitations or posts, I have more people reach out than sort of like the frilly, like, let me know if you're interested in my next group type post. This is me talking about a new program. This was Max 30. This is actually, I think this picture was in Dallas. Just letting people know, put this on your Christmas list. You'll see my facial expression is probably what grabbed people's attention. So the purpose of this example is just to show you that the typical smiling, sweaty selfie or the bicep flex is not always going to make people stop their newsfeed, right? But like putting on a different face, different type of picture, personality might grab their attention. This is a recent picture that I shared on social, and I couldn't get the right screenshot for my text. It doesn't even matter. All my post said was looking forward to a date night with a heart, right? But I, over time, have built up this, not built it up, I've really shared from a vulnerable perspective the fact that Chris and I work out together. He's, you know, we're yin and yang. We were high school sweethearts. Like, I share a little bit of our relationship on social. And so I think this got like 130 or 150 likes and tons of comments from people. And all I did was tell them that it was a date night and shared this picture. So you're probably thinking, like, you just told us, no, don't send an away message, right? Like, don't tell people what you're doing. But the point here wasn't what I said, which is why I didn't screenshot what I said. The purpose here was that I shared a picture that is emotionally connecting, right? So yesterday we had a photographer at our house that took pictures of Ellery. We had her come back because the pictures we did 2 months ago were so bad. And so we had her come back yesterday to do more pictures. And Ellery was in rare form. And so so we were like, I was like, I'm sorry. She just really doesn't like you. She really doesn't like photographers. But she was great, but she's like, I don't think I'm going to have any good ones for your Christmas card. And so we kept trying. It was like an hour and a half of trying for pictures. And she was, as a photographer, she was really concerned about getting a picture of the four of us, our dog included, with everybody looking at least not unhappy, right? Because Ellery was crying for most of it. So she was really concerned with getting the four of us looking at the camera, smiling, happy looking. And she was like, I don't know if I have any that you can use for your Christmas card. And so I was like, thinking to myself, I'm like, well, surely there's got to be one in there, right? So she shows me, you know, they can like turn their camera around. She starts showing me the pictures that she's got. And instantly my marketing brain starts like, oh my gosh, these are going to be fantastic, right? Because she's got one where I'm not looking at the camera and Ellery's not really looking at the camera, but I'm sitting on the floor and Ellery comes up from behind me and is giving me a hug from behind, right? And so we're both like, I'm looking down and she's looking down and it's like this. And I'm like, that is worth so much more, right, than a picture where we're posed, looking at the camera and smiling. Does that make sense? And that's the same type of message that I'm trying to get across to you here, right? It's not always about the perfect window for you to take your selfie after your workout or the perfect flex for your bicep or what you look like after your workout or a picture of your Energize or whatever. It's more about posting those things that make that person on the other side go, oh, right? Or whoa, or whatever, like making them have those emotional feelings. So let's recap what I've said. So let's talk about some do's. So I didn't talk about Facebook Live, but if you're somebody comfortable with going Facebook Live, do it as often as you can, sharing videos as often as you can. I'll even share sometimes some funny clips of things Ellery's doing or the dog is doing or short clips of my workouts. That's totally cool. Facebook likes video. People like to watch video. And now that they have the feature for people to scroll their news feed without audio, I know even myself included, I watch people's videos even without volume all the time just to see what they're up to. Post pictures of yourself, right? More than you post pictures of Autumn Calabrese or Shaun T. Prove that the products work for you, share your journey, prove that the personal development works for you. That's a huge one, right? So sharing your sort of aha moments and your personal development helps other people connect to you. Those of you guys who participated in the Girl Wash Your Face Mastermind or who have at least read that book recently, you know that there's sort of this whole phenomenon out there behind Girl Wash Your Face, right? And so I've even noticed that sharing small things about Rachel Hollis or that book is attracting other people because they're like, oh, have you read that? Is that good? I've been thinking about reading it because it's kind of become a phenomenon. But just little things that you're taking away in your personal development, things that you're doing to focus on. If you're doing a gratitude journal, if you're waking up early in the morning and you're doing a miracle morning, all the things that you're doing to improve your mental self is just as important to share as your workouts and your nutrition. This is a very simple one, but it's going to sound like an English teacher, and that's okay. But read your post before you post it, right? Like if you're going to make an invitation post especially, make sure you read through it. At the end of it, make sure you ask yourself the question, like, who did I connect with here? What was the intention of my message, right? Those 3 questions we talked about initially. And is this effective? Like, does this sound conversational, casual? Does this sound like something I'd say to my best friend? Or does it sound like I overthought it and I turned it into a billboard ad, right? If that's the case, delete, start over. But reading it before you post it sometimes helps. Delete it if it doesn't go over well. For me, if I spend a lot of time on an invitation post and I post something on a Sunday night and I don't get anything, if I get like 5 or 10 likes, I'm like, really? I put a lot of time into that. I'll just delete it or leave it and post it again later too. You can repurpose things and get different viewership on it even later. The spacing thing is big. Getting people to read your stuff sometimes really does come down to how well you space your things. A new tip that I have for you is, for me, emojis have been a big thing. So breaking up my text, if I'm going to put a list or something, or a list of ingredients or whatever, I'll actually put emojis next to each thing in the list. Just makes it more readable and more interesting to the person on their phone scrolling the post. Put your invitations out there more than once, but definitely not back to back, right? So if you make a post, an invitation to your challenge group in the morning, maybe don't make another one for at least another day or two. Putting 2 back to back in the same day can get a little tricky, but kind of sharing those vulnerability posts, planting seeds, getting people to fall in love with you, sharing your journey, that should be happening like, I'll say 60 to 70% of the time, whereas your invitations should be more like 30 to 40% of the time. And then last but not least, be real, be yourself, and focus on getting people to fall in love with you. So these are some simple tips that should be, I hope, helpful. But if hopefully you guys are following these already. But posting your Beachbody website or doing those direct, hey, check out my page, or hey, message me if you want in my next challenge group, like costs, right? Like sharing like the cost information for programs, like those are definite no's. Those are things you want to reserve for private conversations. Copying other people's posts. So you guys are always welcome to steal my content. Like I've always put that out there. You never have to ask me. If you see a post that I make and you're like, gosh, I wish I would have written that myself, steal it, copy and paste it, post it yourself, tweak your language if you need to make it sound like yourself. Obviously not, like you wouldn't obviously steal my Ellery post because that wouldn't make any sense. But anything that seems like super personal, those are the ones you want to kind of stay away from, right? So stealing other people's content isn't always cool. So ask for permission, unless it's me and you're a coach on our team, you're welcome to steal mine. Never brand yourself a Beachbody coach. So talking about yourself as a Beachbody coach is sort of a weird thing. I would just sort of focus on being a health coach or a virtual coach, or sometimes I've called myself like a virtual trainer. Those types of things tend to increase interest and intrigue more so than outright saying a Beachbody coach. Negativity isn't cool. Posting someone else's photo isn't cool without their approval. And then, of course, you want to make sure when people comment on your stuff that you're responding to those comments, that you're liking or now loving their comments or commenting back to them as well. So reciprocating that conversation right there on your public profile is also a good idea. So at the end of the day, ask yourself, did my post add value? Did I emotionally connect in some way? So these are just a couple of resources. There are so many out there when it comes to social media content, but the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast with Amy Porterfield, she's got a lot of new ones, especially that are really good in the realm of content. And then the Gary Vaynerchuk book featured here is also really good too. So for me, when it comes to making good posts, I feel like they have something in them that makes them want to be read, and they have something in them that draws my attention and connects with me emotionally. So I hope that through practice and through doing these things more and more and more consistently, you'll find your sweet spot, right? And it does take practice. It does take time. So one thing that I shared, I think it was probably about 2 weeks ago when we were originally going to do this webinar, and then we swapped it for a different one. I think I shared with you guys. So in the team page in the files section, there is what's called Facebook post writing prompts or something like that, or social media writing prompts. So if you're ever feeling stuck, like you don't know what to share or how to write it or how to start a Facebook post, there is an actual Word document in our team page, which has probably like 20 or 30 different prompts to get you started. So it'll say like, I used to feel, and I'll have like a sentence or two to get you started. And then you can kind of use that to facilitate the creativity for the rest of the post. So does anybody have any questions about anything shared? I don't think I have anything after that. Yeah.
Wendy, where are the prompts at?
In the team page, should be in the Body Electric team page. I'm going to look right now. They were probably one of the most recent files uploaded.
They're in the file section.
Yeah. I don't remember what it's called. I'm going to look right now. Yeah, SM post prompts, which is social media post prompts. Very first file.
I have a question.
Go for it.
How do you balance like during prime time? So from like 8 to 10, you only have like 2 hours. How do you get in like, you know, Shanti's coming out, but also like I feel like there's so much to post in like in a small amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
because like on the national call, they were talking about. Can you get the book down, please?
Okay.
They were talking about creating like a launch thing and talking all about Shanti and doing Shanti quotes and different things. And I feel like there's just like too much to post all the time. And
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say like every day is going to look different, right? So the last presentation that we did on the social media plan, where you're kind of mapping out your week ahead, that's where you're going to know, right? Like if I'm looking at my week ahead, I'm going to do a call to action on Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening, I'm going to share my transformation story or whatever. So you have that sort of mapped out. And so because of that, you're not feeling like you have to get all of those things out in one post in one evening, right? So for me, if you know that, okay, tonight's a call to action night, Sunday night, everybody's on their phone, I need to make a call to action to my challenge group, then all of your focus goes into that, right? So you're going to craft a really effective post. You're going to post it between 8 and 10 p.m. and it's going to be your call to action to your Transform 20 group.
okay.
And then Monday you share a little story about Noah. And then Tuesday, you know what I mean? It's just seed planting, seed planting, seed planting. On those nights that you have your call to action planned, or you think, hey, I'm going to throw out a call to action, you make sure it emotionally connects in some way. I will put a side note though, that I really think Transform 20 is going to appeal mostly to people who've done Shanti stuff before. I don't know that it's going to attract a lot of new blood. We'll see.
Why is that?
I think his demographic is very specific to, hey, Jesse, I saw that. He's like, yeah, I think he's a trainer that specifically attracts a certain demographic. And I don't know that, like, I think T25, the way T25 was marketed and created, it was sort of created to be beginner level to advanced. But at least the way I've seen Transform 20 marketed is you better have your big girl panties on for this, because it's like insanity on a step. So I think that alone, that's what I mean. Like, I think people that are attracted to that, like, I mean, I used to have people come to the gym, they'd be like, I want you to make me puke, right? Like, they'd be like the people who took like the Rockstar before the workout and then afterward. Like, I had a guy one time that literally I missed Chris's track meet because he literally laid on my gym floor for like 2 hours. Like, he didn't think he could get up, but he lived for that kind of thing. Like, he wanted to push himself so hard. Like, for me, I had a panic attack during a max 30 workout one time, and that was the last time I did max 30. Like, I swore I would never do max 30 again. It was just too much for me. Like, I'm too competitive, and I wanted to do every rep that Darren and Tony was doing. And so panic attack at like minute 17, right? And so that was it for me, like no more max 30. So there are people who are drawn to that sort of like super athletic, super competitive, super high intensity vibe. And it's most likely people who have already done Insanity, already done Asylum, already done max 30. So he says in his call, if you haven't listened to the Sparta Nation call with him yet, he says something specifically about most people attracted to Transform 20 will probably have done a program of mine before. So I think it's interesting because for me, it's like, I'd love to be able to put it out on social media, like, oh, anybody can do 20 minutes a day, right? And for beginner to advanced, but the truth is I don't really know if beginners are going to be able to hang. So from what I've seen.
It's hard.
Yeah, I've been following, I think it's Megan Ewaldson, and I'm like, whoa.
Well,
It looks
one of my good friends was in the test group too, and yeah, it's intense.
So people who live for that sort of thing, right, like, are going to love it. People who are beginners to fitness are going to be like, what did I just do? What's that 2B mindset again? Tell me about that.
Is there a modifier? Or?
Yes, there is a modifier, and I believe the modifier, I think he says they have somebody doing everything off of a step too, so that there's that option. But I know I think Julie herself has said it doesn't matter if you have a step or not, it's still really hard. So now everybody looks scared. I didn't mean to scare you guys. I'm just sharing with you that my strategy for Transform 20 is going to be, like, I threw it out there today, just sort of like, who's excited about like a new thing from Shaun T? And then I have an email list in my MailChimp for Shaun T customers, like people who have purchased Shaun T before.
Jenny, the step and everything goes on sale December 4th, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I've heard they don't have enough in the warehouse and it'll be like first come, first serve. So are we gonna eventually get it no matter what? Or is it something where, like, did they run out of the bands and things for
Right.
80-day obsession and people had to wait
Well,
forever?
Here's the thing. So corporate is telling us that they have, because of the history with the bands, everything we had go with 80-day obsession and other programs before, they have assured us that they believe that they have enough for launch.
Okay.
However, Shaun T, of course, has that little smirk on his face in the call, and he says, like, he's going to blow it out of the water with launch. He thinks it's going to be the biggest launch since, I don't know, because I think Lift 4 passed 80-day obsession. So he thinks he's going to blow it out of the water. So I would not be surprised if they sell out of steps, just because that's been the theme. But they have assured us that they have a backup plan in place. So I don't know what that is. There have been some top coaches that have asked, because we don't want to send people to Amazon if we don't have to. But we've also been told, like, people need to get on. That's another reason why people need to purchase quickly. So we can use it to our advantage to say, if you definitely want to start in January, you need to get this, you need to purchase today. So maximize the launch itself, like the first 2 to 3 days. Otherwise, we'll just, namaste and let it go, because that's all we can do.
And make sure you get Success Club this month so that your step is guaranteed.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that they did that. Cool. Didn't share this in the announcements, but they did release new Elite and Premier requirements for next year. They have shared they did like a training on it live in the roundtable yesterday. I think I saw it somewhere else. Like, I don't know if it was the Champions. I don't know. It's going to be somewhere else. Like, they're taking it to another platform to share to. But Abby, I know what you're thinking. There's no FAQ up for it yet. She's already looking. She's like, I already got my browser open. I've already searched it. Because Chris today, that was his reaction. He's like, well, I looked everywhere and there's no FAQ yet. So I haven't watched it fully. It was like a 2-hour training. I watched like 40 minutes of it earlier. So I don't know everything yet, but that is coming. What else is new, you guys? What else can we talk about? Any other questions? No? Oh, I'm just now seeing chat messages. Didn't see them. Yeah, Tara, that's kind of how I felt too. I don't remember him saying VIP. I don't feel like I've heard the phrase VIP access. But I'm gonna double check it to be sure. But I do know that he has announced on his social that he's doing some workouts there too. Okay. So hopefully you guys are coming away with this with some ideas, with some sort of refreshing information on maybe how you've been overthinking some of your social media content or over stressing about what types of things to share. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, I have not gotten on board with the Instagram stories train. It's something that I worked on sporadically. It's not been consistent for me. Facebook stories, very similar. I would say that again, still my business is dominantly Facebook, doing this exact thing, right? Like making effective social content, making people fall in love with me, private messaging, having those awesome conversations, building relationships. And for me, as of today, 76 months in Success Club. Never missed a month in 76 months. So instead of feeling like you're racking your brain, like honestly, the few times that I've tried to keep up with Instagram stories, I'm literally like, what am I doing? I've just spent half my day doing Instagram stories. Like I can't, it's just so much time. And so I'm like, why? Like this is killing me. And so I'm slowly learning and slowly transitioning to it a little bit. But for me, it's like, if I'm still getting effective, results on my Facebook, I'm not going to leave it. It's not going to be, I heard on a podcast recently, it was actually Amy Porterfield podcast. And she had a client on there, and she asked the client about how they were accessing and utilizing their social media. And the client said, well, back in 2017, everybody sort of left Facebook to go to Instagram. And she was like, I stayed on Facebook. Like, hey, I'm still over here. And she kept doing her thing. And that's kind of how I feel too. So I have so much to learn in the area of Instagram and the areas of stories and all of that sort of stuff. But this is sort of like my hard and fast truth, right? Like sticking with continuing to network with people on Facebook, continuing to add value to them and to emotionally connect with them on a certain level, to private message and build their relationships through private messenger, to be consistent in my email marketing. And so those two things combined really have built my business to where it is, and it continues to be rewarding for me. So if nothing else, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, if you've been feeling that social media burnout, if you've been feeling like, I don't know what to do, there's so much to post, what time do I post, and I've got so many platforms to take care of, and I didn't do this on my stories, and nobody's reaching out to me about this, and if you're feeling like there's just so many thoughts and feelings, take a step back and say, what's really important? What's really important is that I help 3 people this month. How do I help 3 people? By talking specifically to them, right? By crafting effective messages to them, by talking to them through private messenger, by doing those things, you'll see results in your business. So hopefully that's helpful for you. I think I've been averaging 2 posts a day on my Facebook, with maybe 2 to 3 calls to action per week, doing none of the other things. And my Success Club is still growing, still recruiting coaches. So I have things to learn.
I'm glad you brought that up, because, in Summit, all they talked about was Instagram, how all these coaches are having great success, blah, blah, blah. So I jumped into it. All I get following me is perverts, Saudi Arabian princes, other people that are Beachbody coaches. And I never even use Beachbody hashtag, none of that.
Right.
It's always like fit grandma, grandma's this, Adirondack, hiking, whatever, trying to get people. And all my followers, and then they'll send me messages, hi baby, I love your body, or something. And it's like, and then somebody cloned my account.
Right.
And that just set off. I'm like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I just kind of like, I don't want to do this Instagram stuff
Mhm.
anymore. So, so tonight I did one and then sent it over to Facebook thinking, you know, what am I going to get? Well, I get my friends who actually liked it, but then again, I'm back to all the, you know, the perverts, the guys that are
Right.
divorced, single, widowed. I'm like, I tell you I'm married. I tell you I'm a mom. I tell you I'm a grandma. What do you think I'm gonna do? Leave my husband for an Instagram person? You know,
Right.
so I'm glad you said that
Yeah.
because I was just
I
like,
totally
am I
get
the
it.
only one?
Yeah. And that's a great point. Like if there's a social platform that you don't feel comfortable on, you shouldn't do it. Right. So
It's,
if you needed to hear that, I hope you did. But for
Yeah.
me, this is something that if we get too focused and too distracted with all the new things, right? Like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this thing. I'm supposed to be doing this thing, but we're not emotionally connecting with people, especially people who are already in our warm market that we already have a certain level of knowledge and trust with. We're sort of leaving part of our business behind. You know what I mean? We're sort of like not doing our due diligence there. So this is what's working for me. This is what's worked for me for years. So I just wanted to refresh it, touch on it with the team, hopefully clarify for some of you that less is more as long as it's effective. Alrighty, cool.
good.
Okay, you guys, well, have a great night. I'll have the recording up tomorrow on the team page, and you should look for the virtual gym link in the team page this week, and then an email about how to handle automation for your clients and coaches later this week. Probably, I'm hoping by the weekend. Have a good night.